But now let's get back to combat helicopters, plural, and let's go to the next story that I sent you, Tamara, which is one that we published, and I think we've talked about before, about a week or so ago on November 11th. And this story was based on a report that appeared in Yediot Ahronot, the Israeli newspaper, by its military correspondent, Yoav Zitun. And Zitun was citing an Israeli Air Force investigation or preliminary investigation into what happened on October 7th. And this is what Zitun said, or part of what Zitun said, that we did talk about this before, so I won't go through the whole thing again. But basically what Zitun said, and we have it all quoted in the story at the Electronic Intifada, is that the Israeli, they sent up 24, actually 28 Apache attack helicopters, which were armed with Hellfire missiles and with 30 millimeter machine gun cannons, where each shell is like a grenade. That's the term that's used in Yoav Zitun's article. And they were firing indiscriminately. And the term he uses, he says, the helicopters emptied their bellies. I never heard of a helicopter having a belly, but that's a very memorable term. And then they would go back and reload and come back. And so 28 helicopters constantly going, loading up with this heavy ammunition and firing indiscriminately, according to the Israeli Air Force's own preliminary assessment, that they could not distinguish between the civilians and Palestinian fighters. And this Yoav Zitun article is accompanied by footage released by the IDF in mid-October, which actually shows the helicopters firing on civilian cars. It's actually the footage at the top of the screen, not this, although this little clip was released by the Israeli army, but the one right at the top that has the YouTube age restriction. We don't need to show it now, but it's there for people to find. Tamara, if you just show the headline again, people will be able to find it at the Electronic Intifada.
A rave of 18 to 21-year-olds in Israel involves a lot of soldiers. It involves a lot of people that were about to become soldiers, were active duty soldiers, or had just finished their military. So they themselves, if they were settlers, they had weapons in their cars. A lot of people were running to their cars to get weapons. A lot of testimony from the Nova rave talks about crossfire because there was security guards there that were shooting. And I think the rave signals more of chaos than anything else, because the numbers of people there, I don't think that Qassam anticipated how many people were going to be there. And when you look at the sort of like meticulous takeover of each of those objectives that they had, what you see out front of Nova is a collection of many units that had cleared their own objectives and had moved forward in an attempt to take the base at Riyam. So I think that the rave was in an unfortunate position. The Israelis panicked and opened fire with helicopter gunships, which the Palestinians expected. They came out expecting a battle. You could see units of Qassam fighters on October 7th that have manpads, anti-aircraft weaponry, and they're constantly looking at the sky. Even when they're riding their bikes out of Gaza, which we have from their helmet cam footage, the fighters are constantly looking at the sky as if they're expecting an Israeli air attack that never comes. The aerial attack doesn't come until a couple hours later, when they're firing randomly at people that they don't know, because they don't have people on the ground in the Nova Festival like calling in coordinates on their radios like they normally would. So the helicopter pilots, and they testified to that, they didn't know what they were shooting at. They thought that they were shooting at 1,500 people that had fled across the border to fight. But if the goal was just to massacre everyone at the festival, the Qassam brigades had the armaments to do that. That's clearly the goal wasn't mass killing. The goal was to take territory, hold it, and to bring home a certain number of prisoners.